Crystal chandeliers glowed over silk and gold. Cameras clicked. Guests whispered. At the altar, he stood in a borrowed tux, palms damp, eyes on the woman beside him. She sat in a wheelchair, ivory gown flawless, posture calm, unreadable. Pity rippled. So did judgment. A trillionaire's daughter, fragile, they said. Lucky him, they said. Her father watched without blinking. She didn't look weak. She looked prepared. When the vows ended, her fingers tightened on the armrest, and she smiled at the doors behind them. What he discovered later that night would make him question everything. If you're ready for a story about power, dignity, forbidden love, and the sweetest revenge you've ever witnessed, then you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this channel brings you the most addictive romance stories you won't find anywhere else. Drop a fire in the comments if you're team revenge. And let's get into this story. The papers arrived before the questions did. They came in a thin brown envelope, edges bent, the kind that carry bad news or final offers. He opened it at the small kitchen table while his mother slept on the couch, the TV murmuring static prayers into the night. Past due notices lay stacked like accusations. The landlord's warning was taped crookedly to the door. His younger sister's school fees were circled in red on a crumpled notebook page. Everything in his life felt overdue. The offer was simple. Brutal in its simplicity. Marriage. 1 year minimum. Absolute discretion. Generational debt erased. Medical bills paid. His family relocated. Security guaranteed. No romance promised. No affection required. At the bottom was a name that didn't feel real, one of those names whispered on business channels and in scandals, spoken carefully, as if money could hear you. A Korean trillionaire. Old wealth. Dangerous wealth. And a daughter no one ever saw standing. He laughed at first. A dry sound that startled him. Then he read it again. And again. By the third time, the laughter was gone. When the intermediary called the next morning, her voice was calm, rehearsed. She spoke as if this happened every day. You are not being bought, she said. You are being selected. He asked why him. There was a pause. Not long, but intentional. Because you have nothing to lose, she said. The meeting was arranged 2 days later, in a private lounge at an airport he had only seen in movies. The floors reflected faces like water. Everything smelled expensive and quiet. He wore his only suit, altered twice, sleeves still a little short. He felt visible in the worst way. The daughter arrived first. She was wheeled in by a woman in a gray uniform who did not make eye contact with anyone. The chair moved smoothly, silently, like it belonged there. The daughter's hair was pulled back with surgical precision. Her dress was modest, pale blue, no jewelry except a thin ring on her right hand. She looked younger than he expected. Stronger, too. Her eyes were sharp, assessing, pausing on his shoes, his hands, his face. She nodded once. That was all. Her father entered without announcement. The room changed temperature. Conversations died mid-sentence. He didn't rush. Didn't need to. 2 men followed him, but it was clear they were decoration, not protection. He sat across from them, folded his hands, and studied the man he intended to give his daughter to. You will live where we tell you, the father said. His English was perfect. Flat. You will speak when spoken to. You will never discuss our family. You will never ask questions you are not prepared to regret. No one translated. None was needed. The rules were laid out like a contract carved in stone. Public appearances required. Private distance encouraged. Loyalty mandatory. Disobedience, undefined. The daughter said nothing. She listened. She watched. He noticed something then, something small but unsettling. When the father finished speaking, it wasn't him the staff looked at. It was her. As if waiting for confirmation. As if the final decision was not his to make. She finally spoke. Her voice was soft. Controlled. You will not touch my chair, she said. You will not speak for me. And you will not mistake this arrangement for kindness. Her eyes met his, held them. If you break these rules, she continued, my father will not be the one you answer to. He swallowed and nodded. That night, he sat alone in the guest suite they provided, staring at the city through glass so clean it felt unreal. His phone buzzed with messages from home, hopeful, grateful, desperate. He thought of his mother's tired hands. His sister's smile when she talked about college. He thought about pride and how little it paid. He signed. The wedding followed fast. Too fast. Fittings. Briefings. Lessons on posture, silence, obedience. Every detail controlled. Every move observed. He was told what to wear, when to speak, how to smile. The daughter remained distant, present but unreachable, like a shadow that chose when to exist. On the morning of the ceremony, a housekeeper helped adjust his cufflinks. Her hands trembled. When he thanked her, she flinched. Be careful, she whispered, barely moving her lips. Of what? He asked. Her eyes flicked toward the hallway. Toward the daughter's room. Not of the chair, she said. Of her. And as he watched the staff scatter the moment the wheelchair rolled past, lowering their eyes, stiffening their backs, he realized something didn't add up. They feared the daughter more than her condition. The estate did not feel like a home. It felt like a decision already made. They arrived at dusk, the gates opening without a sound, irons sliding back as if the land itself recognized her. The driveway curved through manicured gardens that looked untouched by weather or time. Lights bloomed on one by one, perfectly timed. No one waved. No one greeted them. The house revealed itself slowly, stone, glass, and shadow, too large to be welcoming, too quiet to be safe. He helped guide the wheelchair inside, careful not to touch it, remembering the rule. Staff lined the hallways in pairs, heads bowed, hands folded. They did not look at him. They barely looked at her. The doors closed behind them with a softness that felt deliberate. This will be your wing, a man said, motioning him forward. Hers is separate. No explanation followed. None was expected. His rooms were immaculate. Cold. Everything new. Nothing personal. Cameras were discreet but visible if you knew where to look, dark glass eyes tucked into corners, reflected faintly in mirrors. He noticed them because he had learned to notice things growing up. When privacy is scarce, you develop instincts. Dinner was served alone. He waited. She did not come. Instead, a note rested beside his plate. 3 sentences. No signature. Eat what is placed in front of you. Do not explore after midnight. If you hear footsteps, stay where you are. He ate slowly, appetite shrinking with each bite. The food was perfect. That made it worse. Over the next few days, the pattern set in. Morning briefings delivered by staff who spoke only when necessary. Schedules slipped under his door. Appointments he did not remember agreeing to. Clothing laid out before he asked for it. Silence that followed him like a shadow. His wife appeared when required. Public breakfasts. Short walks in the garden. Occasional meetings with lawyers and advisors who addressed him with rehearsed politeness and addressed her with something closer to caution. She played the role expected of her, fragile posture, hands folded neatly in her lap, eyes lowered when cameras were near. But when they were alone, the performance shifted. She watched reflections instead of faces. She positioned herself where doors were visible. Once, during a walk, she abruptly stopped and asked him to move 3 steps to the left. When he asked why, she only said, habit. The father was everywhere and nowhere. He did not raise his voice. He did not repeat himself. When he entered a room, conversations ended. When he left, they did not resume. He spoke to his daughter as if she were glass, valuable, breakable, owned. He spoke to his son-in-law like a transaction still under review. You are adjusting, he said one afternoon, pouring tea he did not drink. That is good. It was not a question. Rules shifted without notice. One day he was told not to enter the east corridor. The next, he was reprimanded for not attending a meeting there. A driver scolded him for being early. A maid apologized for serving him water without permission. Nothing was consistent except the feeling that consistency was being tested. At night, the estate changed. Lights dimmed. Footsteps echoed down corridors that should have been empty. Once, he heard a door open near his room and close again. Slowly. Carefully. He stayed where he was, heart hammering, remembering the note. His wife did not appear at night. Not once. During the day, her absence felt intentional. During the night, it felt strategic. He tried to speak to her about it. Carefully. Indirectly. Is this normal? He asked during breakfast one morning, voice low. She stirred her tea without looking up. Normal is irrelevant here. Then what should I expect? She finally met his eyes. For a moment, the softness was gone. What replaced it was sharp and calculating. Attention, she said. Whether you want it or not. The staff watched her closely. More closely than they watched her father. He noticed it then, fully. When she entered a room, shoulders straightened. When she frowned, someone moved. When she smiled, rarely, something loosened, just slightly. Once, he saw a guard step into her path to assist with the door. She stopped. Looked up at him. Did not raise her voice. Move, she said. The guard moved. No apology. No explanation. Curiosity turned to anxiety. Why pretend? Why him? Why the rules that seemed designed to disorient rather than protect? He began testing boundaries in small ways. Walking slower. Pausing in hallways. Watching reflections in polished surfaces. He noticed patterns. Shift changes. Doors that opened only for certain people. Corridors the staff avoided entirely. And he noticed her. Her chair was always placed with intention. Near exits. Facing the room. Never with her back exposed. Her hands, when she thought no one was looking, rested not limply but ready, fingers flexing, grip strong. One afternoon, he found a book in the library he hadn't seen before. It lay open on a table, spine cracked as if read often. Military history. Strategy. The margins were filled with notes in neat, precise handwriting. He knew it was hers. When he mentioned it, she didn't deny it. She only said, "People underestimate what they want to believe." That night, the silence felt heavier. He lay awake, counting seconds between distant sounds. Somewhere, a door opened. Somewhere else, footsteps moved, measured, unhurried. Not staff. He knew the difference now. Then he saw light beneath his door fade. Someone had passed. He stayed still. In the early morning, unable to sleep, he left his room before sunrise. He didn't know why. Maybe instinct. Maybe defiance. The corridor was empty, the air cool. He moved quietly, following a route he'd memorized during daylight. He stopped when he heard movement ahead. She was there. Not in the wheelchair. She stood near the window at the end of the hall, silhouetted against the pale blue of dawn. Upright. Balanced. One hand braced lightly on the glass. Her posture was perfect. Controlled. Strong. She didn't know he was watching. For a long moment, he forgot how to breathe. Then she shifted her weight, smoothly, effortlessly, and the truth settled in his chest like a held breath finally released. She had never been helpless. He stepped back before the floor betrayed him. The hallway seemed to hold its breath. The woman at the window shifted again, rolling her shoulders, testing balance the way an athlete does before a run. No tremor. No hesitation. When she finally turned, he was already retreating into shadow, heart hammering loud enough he was sure it would give him away. He did not sleep. By morning, she was back in the chair. Breakfast unfolded as usual, silverware aligned, tea steaming, the quiet choreography of staff who pretended not to exist. She greeted him with the same composed nod, hands folded, posture soft. Fragile, if you didn't know better. He watched her wrists as she lifted her cup. Strong. He watched the way her eyes tracked the room. Calculating. He waited until the servants left. "You walk," he said. It came out flat. Not an accusation. A statement. She didn't flinch. Didn't ask what he meant. She set the cup down with care and looked at him for a long moment, measuring. When she spoke, her voice was low. "You shouldn't say that here. I saw you," he said. "Last night. Standing." The silence thickened. Somewhere in the estate, a door closed. Somewhere else, footsteps passed and faded. She sighed. It sounded like irritation, not fear. "Come," she said. She rolled toward the doors that led to the garden, pressing a discreet switch beneath the armrest. The chair hummed. No one stopped them. No one followed. Outside, the hedges rose high enough to swallow sound. She positioned the chair beneath a camellia tree heavy with red blooms and finally looked at him again. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said. "Then don't lie to me," he replied. A small smile touched her mouth. It wasn't kind. "I'm not lying," she said. "I'm surviving." She didn't stand. Not then. Instead, she leaned forward, elbows resting on her knees, eyes never leaving his. "My condition," she continued, "is a narrative. One my father finds useful. One our enemies believe without question." "Our enemies," he repeated. "Yes." She reached beneath the seat and pressed again. The chair locked. With a smoothness that made his stomach drop, she rose to her feet. The movement was controlled, deliberate. No rush. No reveal for drama's sake. Just fact. "I can walk," she said. "I can run. I can fight better than most men assigned to guard me." Shock hit him in waves. Disbelief first, his mind scrambling to rewrite every memory. Then understanding, sharp and cold. "You let them think you're weak," he said. "I let them think I'm predictable." She paced once beneath the tree, testing the ground, then sat again, seamless, mask sliding back into place. "My father's world is built on perception," she said. "Power flows where people think it should. My chair redirects it." He stared at the chair. At the polished metal. The quiet deception. "And me?" he asked. "Where do I fit?" Her gaze hardened. "That's where it gets complicated." She told him enough to keep him silent. Not enough to keep him safe. There were factions inside the family, she said. Old allies who had grown impatient. New partners who wanted her removed from succession. Attempts had been made, subtle ones. Accidents. Medication switched. Doors left unlocked. The chair had saved her life more than once. "And the marriage?" he asked. "A shield," she said. "And a test." "Whose?" She tilted her head. "Everyone's." They returned inside before the staff grew suspicious. The day unfolded with a strange normalcy, but now every detail felt loaded. When a guard lingered too long at the doorway, she noticed. When a maid spilled tea, she watched the hands, not the apology. When her father entered the room, her spine softened, her gaze lowered, the performance flawless. That night, he found a note slipped beneath his door. "You are seen." No signature. He showed it to her the next morning. She read it once and burned it in the fireplace without comment. "They're close," she said. "Closer than I hoped." "Who?" he asked. She didn't answer. The near confrontation came 3 days later. They were summoned to the East Wing, the corridor he'd been told not to enter, then reprimanded for avoiding. The father waited there with 2 advisors. His voice was mild. His eyes were not. "My daughter has informed me of a lapse," he said, pouring tea. "A misunderstanding." Her hands tightened on the armrests. Just for a second. "My husband has questions," she said. The father smiled at him. It felt like standing beneath a blade. "Questions are expensive," he said. "Are you prepared to pay?" He thought of the note. Of the chair. Of the woman who was not what she seemed. "I am," he said. The father studied him, then waved a hand. The advisors left. The door closed. Curiosity can be loyalty, the father said softly. Or it can be treachery. Which are you? Before he could answer, she spoke. He's loyal, she said. Because he knows what happens to those who aren't. The father's gaze flicked to her. Something like approval passed between them. Something like warning. See that it stays so, he said. After, she was quiet. Too quiet. They walked the garden paths without speaking. At the koi pond, she stopped the chair and looked at him. You need to understand something, she said. The people who want me dead won't hesitate to remove you if you become inconvenient. Inconvenient, he echoed. Or informed. He searched her face. The mask was thinner now. Beneath it, resolve, and something else. Trust, maybe? Or necessity wearing its face. Why tell me at all? He asked. Because you already know, she said. And because if you panic, you'll get us both killed. The words landed heavy. That night, the footsteps returned. Closer this time. He stood in the dark, listening, every sense stretched thin. The handle on his door shifted. Stopped. Moved away. In the morning, she found him already awake. You saw me, she said quietly. Which means you see the board now. I see enough, he said. Good, she replied. Because there's no unseeing it. She leaned closer, voice barely a breath. Now that you know, she warned, leaving would be the most dangerous thing you could do. She didn't explain everything at once. She never did. The truth came in layers, peeled back only when silence became more dangerous than honesty. It started in the underground wing beneath the East Corridor, the place staff avoided and maps pretended didn't exist. She led him there late at night, the wheelchair rolling until cameras vanished, then standing to descend a narrow staircase hidden behind a false wall. The air below was cooler, sharper. Screens lined one wall. Names scrolled across another. This is the part they don't see, she said. The part the chair protects. She told him about the accident that never happened. How the rumor of a spinal injury began as a whisper planted by her own advisors after a failed poisoning at 16. How doctors were paid. Records rewritten. Surveillance footage altered. How she learned early that appearing broken made people careless. The first attempt was subtle, she said. Medication adjusted. Dosages off by fractions. Enough to weaken me. Not enough to kill me. The second wasn't. A brake line cut on a mountain road. A crash she avoided only because she insisted on driving herself. That was when she stopped trusting proximity. When she built distance into everything. The chair came soon after. A public truth to bury a private one. My father agreed, she said. Not because he pitied me. Because it worked. She showed him files, cousins with sudden heart attacks, an uncle who drowned in a pool with no water in his lungs, partners who vanished between flights. The family empire wasn't inherited. It was defended. And your father? He asked. She paused. That was the layer she'd been avoiding. My father loves control more than blood, she said finally. I am his contingency. His insurance. And his greatest risk. There were factions within the family. Old money versus new ambition. Board members who feared her intelligence. Relatives who feared succession. Enemies who believed she was weak enough to remove quietly. The chair made me invisible to the most dangerous kind of attention, she said. The kind that plans. He absorbed it slowly, the awe rising alongside fear. She wasn't surviving by accident. She was managing chaos. And the marriage? He asked again. She met his eyes. This time, there was no deflection. They needed a variable, she said. Someone unaligned. Someone who couldn't be traced to any internal power block. Someone poor enough to be grateful and moral enough to hesitate. Me, he said. Yes. She told him how his background had been reviewed. The debt. The sick relative. The refusal to take certain jobs. The pattern of choosing discomfort over compromise. You were predictable in one way, she said. You don't betray easily. And if I had refused? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The marriage created noise. Scrutiny. It shifted attention outward while alliances rearranged inward. It made assassinations riskier. It forced enemies to wait. Waiting created mistakes. But it also put a target on you, she added. That part wasn't optional. Time pressure closed in fast after that. A message intercepted. A shipment delayed. A board meeting rescheduled to an earlier date. Pieces moved on the board without warning. Her enemies were adjusting. They're done waiting, she said. Which means my father is too. The announcement came the next morning. They were summoned to the main hall. The chandeliers blazed. Advisors lined the walls. Cameras were present, not hidden this time. The father stood at the center, hands folded, expression calm. My health is declining, he said. The room stilled. Effective immediately, I will begin transferring operational authority. A ripple moved through the crowd. Eyes shifted. Calculations began. My daughter will assume oversight of strategic assets, he continued. And her husband will be formally inducted into the trust. Shock cut through the room. Not surprise, outrage. She felt it before he did. The tension. The shift. This was not protection. This was provocation. The father's gaze found hers. Held it. You wanted visibility, he said mildly. Now you have it. The room divided in that instant. Allies revealed by stillness. Enemies by smiles. Later, in the privacy of the underground wing, she closed her eyes for a long moment. He's forcing the endgame, she said. If I accept, I step fully into the line of fire. If I refuse, you lose everything, he finished. And so do you. The weight of the choice settled between them. There would be no middle ground now. No quiet survival. Above them, the estate hummed with movement. Decisions being made. Sides being chosen. She looked at him, not as a shield this time, not as a variable, but as a partner bound by circumstance and danger. They will come for us, she said. Soon. And somewhere upstairs, her father smiled, having finally forced the board to reveal itself. Night settled heavy over the estate, pressing down like a held breath. For the first time since the announcement, there were no meetings. No advisors. No instructions slipped beneath doors. The quiet felt intentional, engineered to make them lower their guard. They sat in the private study beneath the house, lights dimmed, only the soft glow of a desk lamp between them. She had dismissed the chair, sitting on the edge of the desk instead, shoes off, posture unguarded in a way he hadn't seen before. I didn't plan to involve you this deeply, she said. I thought distance would protect you. He leaned back against the wall, arms crossed, listening. Distance only works if people don't notice you. A faint smile crossed her face. Then it faded. I was raised to believe attachment is a weakness, she admitted. Everyone close to me has been used as leverage. Every time I care, someone gets hurt. He thought of his family. Of the debt that started all of this. I wasn't raised with the luxury of avoiding attachment, he said. It's how people survive where I'm from. The words hung between them, simple and heavy. She told him things she'd never put in a file. How she learned to read rooms before she learned to read books. How she practiced falling convincingly for months. How she trained her body to switch between roles without hesitation. I don't know who I am without the mask, she said quietly. And that terrifies me more than dying. He didn't answer right away. He moved closer, stopping just short of touching her. You're someone who built a world that keeps you alive, he said. That doesn't make you empty. Her breath hitched, just once. A sound echoed through the corridors above. A door closing too hard. A voice raised then cut short. The calm cracked but didn't shatter. This is the quiet part, she said. Right before something breaks. He nodded. Then tell me what you're not saying. She looked at him fully now. No calculation. No strategy. If we survive this, she said, there will be no version of my life that doesn't involve risk. Staying with me means never being safe. Ever. He thought of the choice he'd already made without realizing it. I stopped being safe the moment I walked into that hall, he replied. They sat in silence after that, close enough to feel each other's presence, not touching because touching would make it real. Because real things could be used against them. The security feed flickered on the wall. A figure moved through the west wing. Then another. Guards repositioned. Messages scrolled across the screen faster than before. Someone tripped an alarm, she said, standing. He reached for her wrist. She didn't pull away. Whatever happens, he said, we do it together. For a heartbeat, she looked like she might argue. Then she nodded. They moved fast, too fast for reflection. Doors opened. Codes entered. The estate shifted from a place of wealth to a place of war. And then the message came. Not from an enemy. From her father. Stand down. Trust the process. Her jaw tightened. That's not a warning, she said. That's an order. Another alert sounded. This one closer. She pulled away from him, fingers lingering for half a second longer than necessary. Stay here, she said. No, he replied. That's not how this works anymore. They rounded the corner together, and froze. The person standing there lowered their weapon slowly. Not a rival. Not a guard. Someone who had protected her since childhood. Someone she had trusted without question. The betrayal landed not as shock, but as heartbreak. And behind them, unseen, the real danger moved into position. The shot never came. The traitor's hand trembled, eyes flicking past them toward the shadowed archway. That was when the father stepped into the light, slow and deliberate, applause echoing softly in the hall. Enough, he said. Guards emerged, not the ones aimed at them, but at the traitor. The weapon clattered to the floor. The betrayal collapsed into confusion. This was never about removing my daughter, the father continued. It was about revealing who would try. He looked at his son-in-law then. Really looked at him. You were the catalyst, he said. An uncontaminated variable. Someone they underestimated. Someone they would act around. The truth settled fast. The marriage wasn't protection. It was a test under pressure. And he had passed by staying, by choosing loyalty when escape was easier. The father nodded once. Authority shifted with that small motion. Orders were given. Names were recorded. Futures ended quietly. Later, when the estate finally exhaled, she stood beside him without the chair, without the mask. You weren't sold, she said softly. You were selected. He understood now. Not the danger, but the design. He thought he was marrying into weakness. What he found was power disguised as silence.